All right, welcome in to episode 2 of Rebuilding the Bag. Today I am doing a little putting competition with my... I've got it in a bracket style competition. Warden is what I putt with normally, so I'm going to do Warden versus the judge. As my first competition, we've got the Keystone and the Dagger. These competitions, these discs are pretty similar to one another, so that's why I'm comparing them to each other. Next up, we have the Swan, Reborn, and the Gavel, understable putters. And next up, we've got the Anode and Roach. So those are my 4 matchups. We're going to start off by doing 15 feet. Let's get into it. First up, I'm going to do the Warden. Went 4 for 5, which is sad because that's the putter that I've been putting with for the last 2 years. It is cold out here. It is a brisk 40 degrees. I've got my hand warmers. So hands are a bit cold. Don't know how well putting is going to be today, but we press on. Next up, Judge. We'll see how this guy feels. That was pathetic. I don't know what got in my head, but this is the first disc I ever bought, so it is pretty beat in, but that was sad. 2 for 5, I think. I lost track in there. I was missing. I'm just trying to think of how am I missing. So I'm gonna put 2 of 5. That's really sad. Next up is going to be my Keystone. I've putted with it before a little bit. Usually I just use this as an approach disc, but we're going to see how it feels putting. That is 5 for 5 for my Keystone. I do enjoy that disc a lot. Alright, let's see how it does against the Dagger. Honestly, both of those felt really good. I'm a big fan of Latitude, so I am not surprised that I enjoy those discs. That's gonna be a tough one. But I'm having a really hard time counting to 5 today. So if I'm missing some, I am sorry, but counting's hard. Okay. All right. Next up, understable. We're going understable, starting off with the Swan. Swan didn't feel bad. It does have a little bit of a bead though, similar to the Judge, which I am not a huge fan of. But 4 for 5, not bad. Let's see how its counterpart does. This guy spent 3 weeks in a river. Somebody found it, returned it to me. Shout out. Forgot your name. I feel bad. But let's try this Gavel out. Understable went okay. 4 for 4, 4 for 5, and the only issue that I saw was, I know you guys can't see it, but they were all hitting mid to left, which means they're going away from the basket. And I don't know if that's just me being cold and not putting enough power into it this morning. But my Warden and the the Keystone dagger we're hitting middle and right, which I feel a lot more comfortable with. So we'll have to see if that improves when we or becomes an issue when we step back, because if I step another 10 feet back, those are going to be missing that left hand side. So I'll have to see how I can make that adjustment in the next round. But next up, we got the Anode MVP. My son picked this disc out, and we're gonna give it a go. See how it feels. That felt pretty good. First miss, of course, was low. Second miss, I think I was just thinking about not missing left because of my previous ones, and overcorrected to the right, missed it wide. But overall, didn't feel bad. The rim here, I don't know why, it just feels slick, which felt weird on my finger. But I don't hate it. Last up, round 1, got the Roach. That felt good. All right, Roach 5 for 5. Felt consistent in the hand. Sit in the middle center like that. That felt nice. All right, I'm going to update the scoreboard, and we'll see who's moving on to the next round. Alright, hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So, first up, Warden Judge. This is pretty easy. Warden taking the dub. This is where, actually, I'm going to scooch over. Okay, this is where it gets a little tough, because I really enjoyed the Keystone and the dagger. But the Keystone it doesn't feel like a putter in my hand. It feels like an approach disc. Like I've thrown it a lot as like an approach disc, and the dagger just feels more like a putter to me. Maybe it's the plastic that I have them in, the retro versus the zero, but the dagger moves on. It feels more like a putter to me. So let's get a cross out there. Next up, the Swan versus the Gavel. This one was interesting, but I think I'm going to give it to the Swan. And I don't have a reason why. It feels better in my hand than the Gavel does. So Swan. Last up, this one's pretty easy. Roach moving on. Sorry, Anode, but the Roach just feels so much better in my hand. Felt like it was coming out more consistently, so the Roach moves on there. We're gonna move it back 25 to 25 feet and run this again. 5 putts each. See how we feel. Those last two felt way better than the first 3. I should have probably done a couple of warm-up putts this morning. Maybe this last week should have practiced some putting and not gone into this 2 weeks cold. But regardless, those last 2 putts felt really good. 3 for 5 isn't great, but we'll see how well. This is about my comfortable range, like the end of my comfortable range at 25 feet. So 3 out of 5, I will take that, especially with cold hands, but everything. But 3 for 5 for the Warden. Moving on to the dagger. I'll tell you, Latitude knows how to make a good disc. That felt good. 4 for 5, and yeah, I've always enjoyed the dagger. I never had it in my bag for too long, and truthfully, I think it's a big part of the Keystone. Because it's very similar, but I always try to throw it like a Keystone, but it feels far better as a putter. This is gonna get tough. Don't know if you saw that, but I just X'd it out. The big part about that a lot of people miss when they're talking about form and how to become a better putter, it's mental, bro. There's so much of it's mental. Just ask Trevor from Foundation. It's mental. And it being understable and going out left in the first round, I tried to overcorrect and I was in my head about it, and it's my fault. Maybe I'm doing the Swan on injustice right now, but it just didn't feel good. So I'm still going to do my 5 putts with the Roach because it felt good, and I want to see how it feels at 25. So, but Roach it's moving on to the next round. That is round number 2. 25 feet, definitely the end of my range. You can definitely tell that because I'm missing a whole bunch off that front rim. They're coming up short, and I've just don't have that oomph to get it there today. So we're coming down to 3 discs. We've got the Warden, the Dagger, and the Roach. The Dagger is moving on. That felt really good in my hand, and maybe it's getting there today because it has a higher glide. I don't know how much that plays into putters necessarily, but it does have a higher glide, and so, but heck, if that's going to help me make more putts from 25 to 35 feet, I'll take it. So let's move on. We're gonna, I'm gonna take all 3. I'm taking all 3 to the final round. Swan was a bust. We're doing 3 putts from 35 feet, and we'll see how it feels. We will see how it feels. So technically, this is circle 2 at 35 feet, but I don't feel comfortable step putting or jump putting, and I prefer to just do a normal putt and try to get more into it. Like I said, this is outside my comfort range for putting, but I do like to just do a normal putt. So that's what we're doing here today. First up, my Warden. I'd like to say I usually make more than that, but I can't. Oh for 15 from 35 feet. Okay, well, this comes to a screeching halt, and I have made my decision. 1 second, let me set it up. here in my hand, I hold 3 wondrous competitors. And unfortunately, I have to make a decision between you. I'm going to bag these 2. Wardens, I've been putting with for the last 2 years. They just feel comfortable in my hand. I've got a big hand. I don't know what it is. I've grown accustomed to this. It feels amazing. But this guy felt good too. So what I think I'm going to do is, instead of carrying 2 Wardens in my bag, I'm going to carry a Warden and a dagger. And for the next month or so, 2 months, I'm just going to putt with both. One right after another, see how it feels, and maybe out on the course, one feels better than the other. This is just backyard putting repeatedly, and we'll see what happens. But Warden, dagger, both fantastic discs. If you are in the process of trying to find a putter, go to your local store and just grab one, walk around in the store with it while you have it in your hand. See how it feels in your hand. That's how I started. I actually picked up a Judge first in my first beginner set, and I didn't like the bead. Like, I would carry it around, and that bead really bothered me. And so the Warden is the closest thing to it without a bead. And that's how I came across the Warden, and it's felt great. And honestly, it's done really well for me over the years. But there's something about this. This even has a bead, and it doesn't feel bad in my hand. I don't know if it's just a tad bit more shallow, but feels good. That's the video. I am going to be bagging Wardens and daggers from here on out. If you're still here, thank you so much. I am currently doing this series of rebuilding my bag, doing challenges similar to these to see if there's any other disc out there that I haven't been throwing that I need to be. We never know what's going to feel good, and just work with your form and your speed. And so I think doing these tests routinely is really good, especially if you're not locked down to one brand. Like a lot of us casuals out here, we can throw whatever we want, and there's a lot of discs out there. So it's absolutely a great idea to be trying new stuff. I will be putting out my next one in the series will be the approaches. So your zones, your suspects, Berg, those type of discs. I'm going to be doing a approach closest to the pin challenge for that one. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, and I'll be putting that out here within the next month. So thank you again for watching. Until next time, I'll see you out on the course.